Hello everybody, welcome to Newtown's first virtual shared story. I'm going to be reading a story from The World's Worst Teachers by David Walliams. Mrs. Splatt's Hall of Horrors. Evil is a strong word, but it is not strong enough to describe Mrs. Splatt. She was a dinner lady who ruled with an iron fist, literally. She only had one real hand, the other was made of metal. Legend had it that she'd stuck her hand in a tray of her own gravy to retrieve a spoon, and the gravy was so toxic her hand had melted away. Fizzle, fazzle, fuzzle. Mrs. Splatt's metal hand wasn't the only body part that had been added to her over the years. Oh no. One of her ears was rubber. It was shiny and much bigger than the other, and she couldn't hear out of it. The tale was she'd sliced off her own ear by mistake when she was chopping liver with an axe. Chunk. Her left eye was made of glass. Slop School law had it that it had popped out when she was beating a hunk of particularly tough meat into shape. As she saw it roll across the counter, she assumed it was a gobstopper and swallowed it whole. Gulp. Splatt also had a wooden leg. The story passed down through generations of pupils was that their dinner lady had fallen into a vat of her own piping hot custard and it had burned off. Sizzle, sazzle, suzzle. Splatt also wore a frightful black wiry wig. Legend had it that she had burned all her hair and eyebrows off when she opened the oven door to take out a casserole she was cooking and it exploded. Underneath her wig, Splatt was as bald as an egg. She would whip off her wig when she needed to give one of her ancient pots or pans a jolly good scrub. As a result, it was full of burnt black bits and greasy brown bits. Splatt had false teeth. The story was she'd lost them biting into one of her own rock cakes. Her rock cakes were infamous for being harder than concrete. You might as well bite into a building. It would actually be tastier. Splatt's false teeth rattled in her mouth. Rittle, rottle, rottle. Sometimes they even flew out when she shouted at someone, "Come back here, you vermin! Doink!" Ouch! Mrs. Splatt had been the dinner lady at Slop School for longer than anyone could remember. No one knew her age. She certainly looked ancient. Some put her in her 80s, others in her hundreds. A handful of children believe she may have been alive for thousands of years, like one of the undead unable to die, destined to stalk the earth for all eternity. That may well be true. You might be interested to find out the world's worst dinner ladies are all part of a secret society, SSODDL. That stands for Secret Society of Dreadful Dinner Ladies. SSODDI meets every Sunday night around midnight at a top secret location just before the school week begins. It's a chance for them to share disgusting recipes, swap cooking utensils, which double as instruments of torture, and elect a new supreme leader. Mrs. Splatt had been the supreme leader of SSODDI for 50 years. Despite the other dinner ladies being ferocious, no one ever dared challenge her. Would you? Mrs. Splatt took great delight in serving up the most repulsive food she possibly could. Most days it was her dreaded stew. She loved cooking stews because she could bung anything she had in them. So today's stew might have all the leftovers of yesterday's stew in it, and yesterday's stew had all the leftovers of the stew from the day before, and so on and so on. There was every chance you were eating last week's leftovers, or last month's, or last year's, or last decade's, or last century's. Not just leftovers though. No, all kinds of things have been floating around in Mrs. Splatt's stinky stews. A pair of old man's underpants, a hedgehog, a used handkerchief complete with snot stains, a flip-flop, a washing up glove, a set of false teeth, a lint roller with bits of hair stuck to it, a lady's shoe, a man called Clive, a sock. There would be big trouble for anyone at Slop School who did not finish everything on their plate, including the teachers. Mrs. Splatt would loom over them, wielding her iron ladle in her iron fist until they had eaten every last morsel. If they didn't, she would strike them hard on the knuckles, thwack, and shout at them, "Lick the plate clean, vermin!" Of course, if everyone licked their plate clean, that saved Mrs. Splatt on washing up too. So that was a boon. Eating school dinners was compulsory for everyone at Slop School. Packed lunches were strictly forbidden. Splatt made sure of that. She and her army of dinner ladies did stop and searches on everyone as they passed through the school gates each morning. Pockets and bags were emptied. Any offending crisps, cakes or chocolate bars would be confiscated by the dinner ladies and then eaten by them. Munch, munch, munch. One time, Splatt even ate a wooden pencil case. It was brown and she had to make sure it wasn't chocolate. She actually quite enjoyed it, although her false teeth did become stuck in it. Mrs. Splatt oversaw a reign of terror at Slop School. Every single kid there lived in mortal fear of her, except one, Chewy. The girl was so called because she was always chewing bubblegum and was an expert bubble blower. Chewy could blow bubbles that would reach the size of beach balls before they popped. Pop! The morning our story starts, Chewy was waltzing through the school gates chewing bubblegum as usual. Of course, Mrs. Splatt was waiting for her. Her army of dinner ladies fanned out behind. "Spit that gum out, you vermin," ordered Splatt, her one good eye staring at the child. "Why, Mrs. Splatt?" replied the girl. She loved getting the lady's name wrong on purpose. "It's Splatt, not Splot, and can't you read?" With her iron finger, the dinner lady pointed to a huge sign she'd attached to the school building that read, "Fod is forbidden on school premises." Spelling wasn't her strong suit. "Bubblegum isn't food," stated the girl. "Yes, it is," argued Splatt. "No, it isn't." "Well, then what is it, Miss Clever Knickers?" "It's bubblegum." The hundreds of kids who'd been gathered in the playground to witness this had a good chortle. "Silence!" ordered Splatt. She punched her iron fist onto her other hand. Thwack! "Ouch!" she whimpered. "Now listen to me, child. It's in your mouth and you're chewing it. So it must be food." "Sorry to say you're wrong, Mrs. Splatt." "Splat!" "Whatever. The thing with bubblegum is that you spit it out after you've chewed it, which is what we would all love to do with your disgusting school dinners." "Ha ha!" chortled the kids. With that, the girls burst a huge bubblegum bubble in the dinner lady's face before swanning off. Splatt peeled the pink layer off her face. Before she could get her revenge, the bell rang for the first lesson of the day. She was boiling with anger. She had been made to look a fool. Now she was determined to break this vermin once and for all. Splatt limped to the dining hall, or Hall of Horrors, as the slop kids called it. Thud, thud, thud went her wooden leg. Once in her kitchen, the dinner lady began hatching an evil plan. "Today," she announced to her army of dinner ladies, "we will create the most repulsive, inedible, deadly dinner of all time." "I thought we did that every day," piped up one of the glasses. "We do, thank you, but today I want to teach that vermin a lesson she'll never forget." "Chewy," exclaimed the one with the crooked nose. "Yep, you've guessed it. I want the food we serve up today to send that nasty little child running for the hills." A cheer went up in the kitchen. "Hurrah!" Immediately, the dinner lady set to work. By noon, Splatt and her gang had created the most repulsive school dinner menu of all time. The bell rang for lunchtime. Splatt whipped off her wig, gave the counter a quick mop, plonked the wig back on, and took her place behind the trays of food, if they could be called that. Her iron ladle was in her iron fist, her one good ear listening out for Chewy, and her one good eye looking out for her. As soon as Chewy pushed the double doors open to the dining room, clunk, the girl was shocked by the smell. The food always stank, but today the stink was enough to knock you out. All the pupils and teachers of Slop School were choking and coughing, their eyes streaming. "Water! Water! Call an ambulance!" Pinching her nose with her fingers, Chewy nervously approached the food counter. Bubbling away was something that looked like a stew, even though it smelt like a campsite toilet. "We meet again, child," purred Splatt. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Split," chirped the girl. "Splat! That's what I said, Splut. What kind of stew is it?" Stew, thundered Splatt, her false teeth shooting across the Hall of Horrors. They landed in some poor child's stinging nettle soup. Yuck. Fortunately, one of the dinner ladies, the one with the hairy chin, retrieved them from her glorious leader. "I mean, what kind of meat is it?" asked the girl. "Roadkill," replied Splatt, after replacing her full teeth. It looked like a squirrel. Could be a fox or a big ginger rat. Hard to be sure. The lorry had squashed it flat. "Absolutely revolting," was the girl's verdict. "Thank you kindly," replied the dinner lady. That was high praise indeed. "I'm not eating it." "No matter. purred the dinner lady, guiding the girl along the counter to something even more disgusting. I also have this pie straight from the oven. The girl peered down at it. What kind of pie is it? She asked. Pie. Once again, her false teeth made a dash for freedom. They landed in a teacher's beat-up blancmange. Splut. Ugh. This time, the dinner lady with the eye patch retrieved Splat's teeth for her. Have a slice. Surprise, my special surprise. Just then, Chewie spotted that underneath the pastry top something had moved. It was alive. What was that? She demanded, seriously spooked. What was what? Replied the dinner lady. Something moved under the pastry. Just then, a claw appeared from underneath. Splatt whacked it with her ladle. Whatever was underneath the pastry shop growled. I do pride myself on using the freshest ingredients, announced Splatt. There's fresh, and they're still alive. I am never eating that. The dinner lady was growing tired of all this talking. She wanted the girl to do some eating and fast. Well, there's still one more choice, child, she said, moving the girl further down the food counter. And I've saved the best until last. Dumplings. These dumplings were brown and steaming and looked as if an animal had laid them that morning. They're not dumplings, exclaimed the girl. Yes, they are. I saw these dumplings being dumped with my own eye, hence the name. Splatt chuckled to herself. Behind her, the gang of dinner ladies chuckled too. The girl was adamant. I am never, ever, ever, ever eating that. Yes, you are. That was your final choice, so dumplings it is. Splatt went to ladle one of these brown steamy nightmares onto the girl's plate. No! Shouted Chewie. It was so loud that the Hall of Horrors descended into silence. No one ever dared say no to Mrs. Splatt. All eyes turned to the dinner lady, her who laughed her best evil laugh. She laughed so hard, her false teeth shot out again and landed in the stew. Splot! It splashed the girl from head to toe. Ugh! Exclaimed Chewie. Then she suddenly found herself feeling hotter than hot. Ow! It's burning my skin! Well, I do like my stews to be spicy, said the dinner lady. She reached her iron fist into the pot and pulled out her false teeth before pushing them back into her mouth. I'm not eating any of this muck, shouted the girl. You have to eat something. Well, I'm not. Not even a pea, suggested the dinner lady, mocking innocently. A pea? Yeah, an incy-wincy little pea. That couldn't do you any harm, now could it, child? The girl was feeling uneasy. It sounded like a trap. Just a pea? Asked Chewie. Just a pea. No sauce? No sauce. Not spiced in any way? No spice. Not stuffed in any way? Not stuffed. Then all right. For my lunch today, I will have one pea. The dinner lady sported a ghoulish grin. One pea coming right up, child. Chewie looked around the troughs of food. There were mountains of the vegetables kids always hated. Brussels sprouts, beetroot, rhubarb, cabbage, broccoli. But no sign whatsoever of peas. Not one. Where exactly is this pea? Demanded the girl. Just keeping it warm, replied Splatt. Then the dinner lady began making the most awful noises with her nose. Snort, snurt, snart. What on earth are you doing? Asked the girl. Just retrieving your pea. With one final snort, a green pellet flew out her nose and landed on the girl's plate with a ding. The girl stared down at it. It's not a pea, she said. What is it then, child? A bogey. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. No, it's not, replied Chewie. Ha ha! The dinner lady had tricked her. It's snot, shouted Chewie in frustration. Shut up and eat your greens. Greens are good for you. Not that kind of green. Eat it. I won't. Oh, yes, you will. Oh, yes, you will. And with that, Splatt grabbed the girl by her shoulders and sat her down on the bench. Eat, vermin, eat. The dinner lady smashed her iron fist down on the dining table. Thud, throwing all the plates up into the air. The children sitting at the table were covered in stew and pie and dumplings. Ugh, they cried. It was disgusting being coated in the stuff, although it was preferable to eating it. Eat it, or I promise you there will be hell to pay, shouted Splatt. Once again, her false teeth went flying, hitting a boy on the head. Dunk! I said no, shouted the girl. Splatt was so frustrated she shouted vermin and thumped the wall with her iron fist. A cloud of dust exploded across the room. Everyone began coughing and spluttering. Splatt strained to remove her fist from the wall, but she couldn't. Her fist was stuck there. She yanked and yanked and yanked, but it just wouldn't budge. "Look what you've done to my blasted hand, child," she growled. The dinner lady pushed her foot up against the wall to act as a lever. She tugged and tugged and tugged before her arm popped clean out of her metal hand. "No!" shouted the dinner lady. Without her iron fist, Splatt felt powerless. Not thinking, she unscrewed her wooden leg so that she could instill terror. She bashed the dining table with it. "That will be you next, vermin." If she had thought first, Splatt would have realised that, unlike the flamingo, she was unable to stand on one leg. A look of horror flashed across her face as she realised she had lost her balance. "No!" Before she knew it, Splatt was lying face down on the greasy floor of the dining room. To make matters worse, her glass eye popped out of its socket and rolled across the floor. As she scrambled to her knee, her rubber ear dropped off. She picked it up and scared the children with it by sticking it right in front of their faces. "Don't think I can't hear you, children," she roared. "Now, vermin, eat that pea." "No!" shouted Chewy. In frustration, Splatt yanked off her wig and threw it at the girl. Chewy ducked and it landed in the shoe of the elderly history teacher, Mr. Antiquette. Splosh. "Excuse me, madam," he began. "I think there's a hair in my shoe." Still, the old man carried on eating. He actually enjoyed Mrs. Splatt's food, but he was the only one. The dinner lady was now half the woman she had been, having lost a leg, a hand, her wig, her left eye and her left ear. Still, she was coming straight for Chewy. "You will eat my snot, you vermin, if it's the last thing you do." "No, I won't." As quick as a flash, the girl reached into her blazer pocket and pulled out a jumbo pack of bubblegum. The brand was Double Bubble, the most bubblesome bubblegum on earth. Once unwrapped, she stuffed the entire pack into her mouth and began chewing like a maniac. Then, as soon as she could, Chewy began blowing a bubble. "No gum in the dining room, vermin!" roared Splatt from the dining room floor. Still, Chewy blew and blew and blew and blew. First, the bubble was the size of a ping pong ball. Then it was the size of a watermelon. "Spit that out at once!" Next, it was the size of a globe. Eventually, it was the size of a hot air balloon. "I am going to pop your bubble for the last time." Splatt lifted up her finger to the bubble and tried to stab it with her dirty, great nail. But instead of popping, the bubble enveloped Mrs. Splatt. In no time at all, the dinner lady was trapped inside. "Let me out!" she cried. "I need all your help, kids," called out Chewy. "Every single one of you." The children in the dining room all leapt to their feet. "Hold the doors open," ordered the girl. The two nearest children to the dining room double doors did just that. "The rest of you, gather round me and blow." "Blow?" asked the littlest boy. "Trust me, this will only work if we all do it. 3, 2, 1, blow." All at once, the children did what she said. They pursed their lips and they blew as hard as they could. Whoosh! Together, the kids of Slop School created a gust of wind that was so powerful, it blew the giant bubblegum bubble with Splatt trapped inside it out of the Hall of Horrors. The dinner ladies all looked on in wonder as their glorious leader floated past them. "No!" cried Splatt, bashing against the wall of bubblegum. She tried to spit her false teeth out to make a hole, but the teeth just bounced off the pink wall and rapped her right on the nose. "Ouch!" she screamed. "Kids, follow her and keep blowing," ordered Chewy. Soon, the kids had the bubble floating high in the air. Before you knew it, the Mrs. Evil Splatt was nothing more than a tiny pink dot in the sky. "Goodbye," called out Chewy. "Us vermin are so going to miss you." All the kids laughed heartily. "Right, now let's order some pizza," shouted the girl.